The Citadel Code, the philosophy of the medieval knight and noble. Chapter 7. Justice, power in service of righteousness. Justice required that strength serve righteousness, never whim or personal gain. In the Citadel's great hall, beneath high timbered roofs and flickering torchlight, the knight and noble weighed evidence and intent with solemn gravity. He punished the guilty to deter wrongdoing, while granting mercy to the truly repentant when justice allowed. He rejected tyranny outright, knowing that an unjust ruler invited the very chaos and disorder he was sworn to oppose. Custom and canon law guided his verdicts. A man's status carried due weight in feudal society, yet it did not override truth or fairness. Justice balanced severity with compassion, ensuring that order endured across the lands under his watch. The knight understood that without justice, the citadel was merely stone and steel, not a beacon of civilized rule worthy of loyalty and defense. This virtue stood at the heart of chivalric philosophy, because power without justice quickly descended into oppression. Ramon Llull, in his influential book of the Order of Chivalry, made clear that knights existed to uphold and defend justice. Just as judges had the duty to render verdicts, knights had the responsibility to protect those judges from violence and to enforce righteous outcomes with the sword when necessary. The knight's blade, often forged in the shape of a cross, symbolized this dual edge, one side for mercy, the other for righteous force. Llull taught that chivalry must restore justice and truth through both love and fear, charity to instruct the willing, and stern correction for the wicked. Without this balance, society collapsed into cruelty, injury, disloyalty, and falseness. In the practical world of the medieval citadel, justice was administered daily in the Great Hall, the administrative and social heart of the stronghold. This vast chamber, with its central hearth, raised dais for the lord or his representative, and long tables for retainers, served multiple purposes: feasts and council by night, hearings and judgments by day, petitioners, peasants wronged by bandits, vassals disputing land boundaries, merchants cheated in trade, or families seeking redress for injury, approached the knight with deference. He listened carefully, questioning witnesses, examining oaths sworn on relics or the Gospels, and consulting local custom or written charters. Status mattered. A noble's word carried heavier weight than a serf's in many cases, reflecting the hierarchical order of feudal society. Yet truth remained paramount. A knight who favored the powerful unjustly risked losing honor and the loyalty of those he governed. Feudal justice drew from multiple sources. Customary law, rooted in long-standing local traditions and Germanic precedents, handled most everyday matters such as theft, assault, property disputes, and breaches of service obligations. Canon law, drawn from Gratian's decretum and church teachings, influenced cases involving marriage, inheritance, oaths, and moral offenses, especially where the church held overlapping authority. Royal or higher feudal courts might intervene in serious crimes or appeals. But within his own citadel and lands, the knight often acted as the primary dispenser of justice. He balanced these systems to maintain peace. Punishments fit the crime and the offender's station. Fines or restitution for lesser wrongs. Corporal penalties or imprisonment for graver offenses. And in extreme cases, such as treason or repeated banditry, execution to protect the community. Mercy tempered severity. A first-time offender showing genuine remorse might receive a lighter sentence or pardon, reinforcing the knight's image as a fair but firm ruler. Historical figures embodied this ideal in practice. William Marshall, celebrated as the greatest knight that ever lived, demonstrated justice alongside his renowned courage and loyalty. As Regent of England during the minority of Henry III, Marshall navigated civil war and French invasion with a commitment to lawful order. He issued pardons where possible, upheld feudal rights without descending into tyranny, and helped lay groundwork for documents like Magna Carta, which emphasized swift and impartial justice, while limiting arbitrary royal power. Martial's life showed that a knight could wield authority responsibly, using his influence to stabilize the realm rather than exploit it. His reputation for fairness earned him respect across factions, proving that justice strengthened rather than weakened a leader's position. The knight's approach to justice reflected the broader medieval conviction that earthly rule mirrored divine order. God was the ultimate judge. Kings ruled by divine right. Lords and knights executed justice on the ground as stewards of that authority. Neglecting this duty invited divine displeasure and earthly disorder, raids, rebellions, or loss of vassal loyalty. In the Citadel, justice therefore served multiple ends. It deterred crime, resolved conflicts peacefully, reinforced social hierarchy, and upheld the knight's honor. A reputation for fairness attracted loyal followers and prosperous tenants. Injustice drove people away or provoked resistance. Training in justice began early. As a page and squire, the young knight observed his lord or senior knights presiding over hearings. He learned to distinguish genuine grievances from petty disputes driven by greed or revenge. He studied the virtues that supported just rule: prudence to weigh evidence carefully, temperance to avoid rash judgments, and humility to admit when higher authority or further inquiry was needed. Ramon Lull stressed that knights must defend judges from violence so that justice could proceed unhindered. In practice, this meant the Citadel's garrison stood ready to enforce verdicts, whether collecting fines or escorting prisoners. Challenges tested the knight's commitment to justice. During times of war or siege, resources strained and tempers flared. Maintaining fair distribution of supplies or punishing deserters required stern yet equitable measures. In peacetime, powerful vassals might pressure him to favor their claims, testing his integrity. Bribery or favoritism tempted many, but the true knight resisted, knowing that corrupted justice eroded the very foundations of the feudal bond. Custom provided safeguards, oaths, trial by combat in certain cases, though increasingly distrusted by the later Middle Ages, or compurgation, where supporters swore to a man's character. Canon law offered appeals to ecclesiastical courts in appropriate matters. The knight navigated these systems with care, seeking consistency rather than perfect uniformity, for medieval law varied by region and lordship. Generosity and mercy formed essential counterparts to strict justice. A knight who showed compassion to the repentant or aided widows and orphans in inheritance disputes fulfilled chivalric duty while strengthening community bonds. Ramon Lull reminded knights that justice included restoring charity and instruction to the world. Thus, the knight might reduce a fine for a poor family or grant land to a loyal retainer's widow. Such acts were not weakness, but wise exercise of power, demonstrating that righteousness included benevolence. Without justice, the Citadel lost its moral authority. Stone walls and armed men could enforce obedience through fear alone for a time. But lasting loyalty required belief in fair rule. Peasants worked harder on lands they trusted would be protected justly. Vassals fought more willingly for a lord known for equity. Justice transformed the knight from mere warrior into guardian of civilized order. It elevated brute force into legitimate authority and aligned the sword with the cross. In the torchlit great hall, as petitioners knelt and banners stirred overhead, the knight and noble embodied this philosophy. Each verdict reaffirmed the chivalric ideal. Power existed to serve righteousness. He weighed not only facts, but souls, intent, circumstance, and capacity for reform. Severity protected the innocent. Mercy offered redemption. Through consistent justice, he upheld the divine and feudal order, ensuring that strength remained a force for good rather than chaos. This chapter of the knight's philosophy reminds us that true nobility lies in restraint. The armed elite of medieval Europe faced constant temptation to abuse their power. Chivalry provided the moral framework to resist it. Justice, balanced with the other virtues, honor, loyalty, courage, piety, and defense of the weak, created stable realms amid an often violent age. In the Citadel, where wind whistled through arrow slits and the weight of responsibility pressed upon armored shoulders, the knight strove daily to make power righteous. In doing so, he fulfilled the highest calling of his order, to defend not only bodies, but the very idea of lawful, ordered society under God.